Rigs have come on so far since when I started carp fishing in the 60s. Then there was a general belief that you couldn't have any resistance in the setup, otherwise that would scare the carp. So we used to fish what was called free line, no tackle on the line, the main line at all, just a hook and the bait was your weight to cast. And then as we progressed, wanting to cast further, lighter baits come out. We needed lead on our line, so then we went running leads directly on the line, again trying to make sure there's no friction at all. And from that it progressed to understanding that if you gave them some resistance with the weight, i.e. bolt rigs, your catches would really go up. And that really is how it progressed through. And then the big one being the hair rig. So bolt rigs and then the hair rig, that's what was a game changer for carp fishing, and started what is now the modern world of carp fishing and the vast array of terminal tackle that's available out there now. Like I said in the beginning, all we needed was a main line and a hook. Now look at how much stuff's on the walls. I always had a fascination for all elements of carp fishing, and a desire to achieve and be top of my game. So it goes without saying, the hook end of the game was very important to me. I was lucky that I had a good friend in Rod Hutchinson. So he was doing lots of experimenting with particles and all that. And with the particles, he had to leave the hook sticking out, and it was kind of him, I think, who first pointed out to me a heavier lead fixed on the line was getting him more takes when he was particle fishing. He was using barrel leads at the time, and they didn't work for me. All I kept doing was getting a lot of twitches, and it wasn't until later I realised that because of the length of them, there wasn't enough massive lead to prick the carp on the bare hook setups. I think it worked for him because he was fishing silty lakes. He was on Redmar. So it just shows, that example of how finite you've got to be with your thinking with terminal tackle. In other words, you could have a rig that'll work on one water and it won't work on another water purely because of the makeup of the bottom. Understanding all elements of the rigs, how they work and where they work, and then looking at your situation is just so important. So from the barrel leads firstly, we then realised you needed a massive lead, like a dumpy lead or a casting thick lead, fixed directly on the line. I was using a little piece of tube with a cocktail stick in it as a stopper, but that wasn't that satisfactory. It would slide up the line. A lot of anglers were just using link clips to clip the lead onto the swivel. Quickly we realised that was a death rig, and so everyone was looking for solutions to make a safe bolt rig. And so one of the first things I come up with was what we called a bolt bead. It was a bead, it was like T-shaped. It had a lug on one end, then a piece coming down the middle with a hole in it to fix the lead through a link clip, and then another lug on the other. So the lug on the left, you put a little bit of tube over that and slip that over the swivel. So if fish got tethered, it'd just pull the lead off and slide up the line. The lug on the right was if you was going to use anti-tangle tube. So you slid the anti-tangle tube up there, and it worked on the principle that if your line was cut, if a fish was snagged and your line cut, the lead would just slide up the line and fall off. The first major advancement in fish safety, I think. Essentially what I developed there was an early version of what's now referred to as a lead clip, a Nash product. We're very proud of it. And how that come about, I was fishing a famous lake called Harefield, which had a lot of really sharp gravel bars in there, bars covered in flints. And one day I hooked a carp and I was playing it, and behind the lead I caught up a tree branch. So I'm playing this carp, this tree, and this tree branch all tangled up, and the line cut above the tree branch, and I was horrified, massively distressed that now I'd left a carp in the lake with a rig in it and a tree attached to it as well. Fortunately, the carp snagged itself on an bar near the bank, and we eventually managed to get it off, but it was a horrible moment. And then I realised the fault of the setups we were using, like my bolt bead, where they all relied on the line being cut. So the rig, the main line, the hook link could pull through the setup that attached the lead and free the carp from it. So I just thought I need a system where I can discharge the lead. So then I went on to what I called the casting clip, where I took a helicopter setup ending in a link clip, and I cut the clip back so it just had a hook. Then I tied a piece of fine 3-pound line to the hook and the other end to the lead, and then just hooked it over the clip. The theory being that when I cast out, as soon as it hit the surface, the lead would bounce off, and when you got a take, the 3-pound line would break. It was incredibly successful, and it changed everything at Harefield. A top angler was catching, say, 5 fish, and he might lose 30 a season because of the bars. My friend the next year went on to catch 30, 40 fish, all because of that invention. So that then brought me on to thinking, I need to develop a bead that will discharge the lead, as well as give all the elements of my original bolt bead, and thus the safety lead clip was born. And I think there's probably not a carp angler in the world or Europe that hasn't used it at some time. You could argue, as it occurs to me, that's probably the most successful item of tackle ever developed. As I'm speaking and thinking back, like I said, it started with just mainlining the hook, and how much terminal tackle is on the walls now. It's quite stunning how it's been developed. From the Nash perspective, I've always sought to innovate items of terminal tackle that help the angler improve safety in carp fishing, always with performance in mind. Strength is very key to me. There's no point in hooking a carp if you lose it because your terminal tackle lets you down. And I'm very proud of the Nash range of terminal tackle we have today. Covers all the boxes in every fishing situation I think you'd ever come across.